Hello everyone and welcome back to Wannabe Car Guy. So in this episode I plan on showing you around this MG ZS180 that you saw in the last episode. I want to take you around areas of rust that we've unearthed as we've stripped the car back and other things I've found that I'm able to diagnose as a problem, should we say. So let's have a walk around. So as I mentioned in the previous episode, we found quite a lot of rust areas that we know we need to attend to make the car roadworthy, if nothing else, but also get it back to as close as to the original standard as we can do. So if I take you down into this area, we'll have a look under here. As you can see, I don't think it's actually pierced through, but there's an area of corrosion there that if we just tried to strip the paint back, sand it down and recoat it, there's absolutely no doubt about it, it's going to cause us issues further on down the line. Right underneath the wheel arch there, you'll see two existing trim clip holes. However, I know when I sand that area back, it's going to reveal really, really thin, pretty much foil thin metal that is going to need stripping back and replacing. And I can show you that because if you look on this side of the car, the driver's side, you'll see where we've already cut some areas out and welded some new patches in. I haven't sanded the welds down yet. I just wanted to get them under some rust proofing primer. There's lots of sanding to be done on all the welding we've achieved so far. Now I'll talk about all the welding we've achieved so far. Haven't actually achieved that much yet. As I did say in the last episode, we did actually start work on this car in the very back end of 2023. But with one thing or another coming forward, it's meant we had to pull off the project. However, the reason for setting up this channel is because I'm now ready to get back on the project and make some good progress. So carrying on our search around the car initially, didn't take us long to find some more rust. So we actually repaired and replaced both skins of floor panel here and inner arch. Again, we haven't sanded down the welds yet. Just wanted to get it in some primer to stop it from rusting. I did attempt to do a jacking point, but I didn't put any solid bar between the two rolled sections. And of course, as soon as I jacked it up, it crushed it. However, that will be getting replaced again and making right. Now, as I mentioned in the last episode, as I was doing a repair on the inner arch, I put the patch in, started sanding the weld down, and then discovered further holes were just appearing. And this is when I decided that the front subframe needed to come off because I just couldn't get into the area. As you can see, the offending hole there was right behind the subframe, making it impossible to do a proper job anyway. So this is another area that will need cutting out, a new patch putting in, welding round. That's after the battle to find a good thickness bit of existing material. Now, the worst area in the whole vehicle for me, and I would say it's quite obvious, is this area here. As you can see, we've got daylight coming right underneath the rear structural area, all the way through the floor. And then if you take a look, hopefully the camera will pick this up, right above the filler cap area. I mean, that just looks like an absolute nightmare. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to tackle that yet. I don't even know whether it's maybe just surface rust, but looking at it, it looks like it's going to be quite a job, especially down in this area here as well, where we've actually got shaped steel we've got to recreate, I assume for the strength side of things. Thankfully, the other side's good. The strut's not looking the best, but the actual body itself looks in relatively good condition. I'm not sure, maybe in that corner down there. Actually, looking at this corner, it looks like there potentially is going to be more work. I'm not 100% sure though. It may just be a case of it's really heavy surface rust. Just get the focus there for you. We have this area of lip here underneath the rubber seal, which I'm told is another quite common area to go. So again, we're going to be cutting a section out and replace them. In fact, cutting two sections out and replacing them because it's actually two pieces of steel that have been spot welded together. So we've got to look into how we're going to attack that, how far we have to go back with it. Both of these crash bar areas here, we've got this one here and that one over there, both completely rotten, so they're going to have to get remade. The only other main area of concern in terms of corrosion that I do see being an issue, however, I don't think it's insurmountable, I think it can be overcome, but that's where the roof meets the windscreen seal itself. Clearly it's been collecting water in there over the years and just retaining it and rotting the front of the roof. Hopefully that is something we can get over. I believe it is. It's going to take a bit of work and cleaning and whatever else to make it look as smooth as what it should do. Moving away from the rust, I think we've got the usual culprits really. We've got rotten side skirt clips that I'm going to have to remake. Don't look overly complicated. Knackered door handles, delaminated glass. I have ordered a new windscreen off eBay. There's a lovely gentleman who's looking after it for me. He's been extremely patient. He's a long way away from me, and I just haven't found the time to go and collect it, but I certainly need to. Whilst this door handle isn't as knackered as the others, if you can, I hope you can actually see this, I'm not sure. It's on its way out. So we're going to have to look at either trying to repair these door handles. I did buy some off eBay, but the dimensions of the handles and that are just not the same as the originals. So if I can do, I'm going to repair these. We'll have to see how we get on with that. Again, another knackered one on the rear driver side passenger door. Now I am planning on investing in either a two-poster ramp or a scissor lift ramp. A lot of it depends on finances and what's actually affordable at the time, but I'd prefer a two-poster because I think you'll be able to get a lot more access. I'd be happy to be corrected on that though. Now, if this isn't one of the most common casualties on the MG ZS, then I don't know what is. We've got what looks to be classic rear bumper crack, another repair I've got to make, as well as the damaged body kit trim. Now with this bumper, I'd absolutely love to be able to source an undamaged one. So if there is anyone out there who's keeping hold of one and would be willing to sell it, I'd be extremely grateful. Two bits of trim here that are damaged around the wheel arch. Now, I can show you this wheel. There's no point showing you all four, but as you can see, they're all scratched. Slight corrosion around the middles. So these will all get refurbed in due course. Again, quite a while before I need to worry about that. So I think I have highlighted the main casualties of this car. I'm sure there are plenty of other things I've forgotten about. In terms of the actual body, chassis and interior itself, you know, there is things like wear on the bolster, general wear and tear, things that you could expect really from a car that's 20 years old now, and also an MG, dare I say that. Moving on to the engine and gearbox then. Well, as I've stated in the previous video, and I probably will keep reiterating to make a safety net for myself, but I'm not a mechanic, so I'm only really going off things that people have pointed out to me and general things in the forums that people seem to tend to do every time they buy a vehicle. Again, as I mentioned, I'm going to sort the timing belts out on this. I think they have been done previously by the previous owner. However, for peace of mind and for myself, and whilst it's out of the car, the easiest time to do these belts, I am going to replace them. We're going to strip the head gasket down, check the edge for level with a straight edge, replace the gasket if necessary. Now the gearbox, when I drove it home, I noticed it was crunching in reverse and fifth gear. I'm not sure what that's about, whether it's clutch related or gearbox related. Again, I want to have some people who know a lot more about it than me to come, talk me through it, and assess whether it needs to go off to a gearbox specialist or whether it is clutch related, maybe the clutch needed adjusting. I'm sure it will come as no surprise to anyone that plenty of the plastic breather pipes snapped. However, I believe DMGRS have pretty much all of them, if not all of them, readily available for me to buy when it gets to that stage. So my next steps with this car, firstly, I'm going to attack all of the welding, all of the replacement of metal, parts, etc. that we need to, because that's something I'm able to complete on my own without assistance from anyone else. Next step, strip out the fuel tank, the rear subframe, strip down both subframes, send them off for blasting, recoating, as much rust proofing as I physically can do to make sure for the years to come we're not seeing loads of surface corrosion, rust, and of course replace any parts that may need replacing on both subframes. Then the doors will be taken off, glass taken out. We need to make an executive decision on what's going to happen with the paintwork, how far we go with it. I believe, thinking sensibly and financially, it's going to be better to repair absolutely everything we can do rather than completely stripping it back. Strip back the underside, re-rust proof that on the top side, repair and recoat as necessary. Well, I say as necessary, the whole car will be getting repainted, but I don't think, economically wise, if that's the right word, I will be stripping the whole of the outer shell back to bare metal. I just don't think it's sensible. Whilst the body is off to have all of its work being done, then we'll work on the engine. I'll have the right team around me. We'll get all the necessary work required to get this engine back in the vehicle when it does come back from all its work and have it up and running nice and smooth. Now, there's plenty of people who will quite rightly tell me I'm absolutely mad for going as far as I am going to go to with this project. To a degree, I'd say I agree with them. It's never going to be an ultra valuable car. I'm sure it will rise up in value eventually. I don't think it'll ever make the money back that I'll put into it. But as I did say in the last video, it's not about making money on this particular car anyway. This is all about keeping a vehicle like this that's getting rarer and rarer, parts are getting harder and harder to find, keeping it preserved and on the road for as long as possible. Whether that's in my ownership, whether that's someone else buying the vehicle and hopefully taking it on and looking after it as good as what they should do once all this work's been completed. I don't plan on getting rid of it anytime soon, however, who knows what the future holds. As you would know, I do have my ZT outside, and whilst the ZS will absolutely undoubtedly be way more fun to drive, for a start it's a manual and a lot lighter, I do like the ZT. It was my first ever car project I've taken on, and I'm a bit soft at heart when it comes to repairing vehicles, I suppose, so as much as maybe I should get rid of that one and fund this project, I'm going to try as hard as I can to fund this project off separate money and then also keep this car. I cannot wait till the day that I can take both vehicles to Pride of Longbridge and other MG Rover meets and have them parked side by side with hopefully a little file of history next to both of them, talking about all the work we've been through with them. Now, I'm not completely daft, and I do know that as we carry on with this project, I am going to unearth more problems, whether it just be broken clips, parts that I can't get hold of anymore, plenty of stuff that needs replacing. So what would be absolutely brilliant is the Rover community that will hopefully watch this video. If anyone's got parts out there that they see that I'm missing or that see that I'm obviously going to need replacing as I'm going through this build, reach out to me. I'm happy, quite clearly, to pay almost whatever it takes to get this vehicle in one piece again. Something that does bug me a little bit is that the amount of replacement parts I have got to get for this vehicle means that it's never going to be now the original vehicle that it once was. However, I'm a little bit torn on that because I think, well, who knows what was replaced on it before I got hold of the vehicle? And also, things are getting increasingly hard to find for these MG ZS180s now. I'm really struggling to get hold of specific parts, such as bumper. That seems to be the very hardest thing to get hold of. I'd love an OEM exhaust, as rare as chicken's teeth. I just don't think I'm going to be able to get hold of one anymore. Anyone who has got one, and rightly so, is keeping it for their vehicles, whether they want to return them back to standard or in the future sell them on to someone else. One thing that you are going to see on this vehicle, on the exhaust, I reckon I'm going to have to build my own and make it as OEM as I physically can do. So that's going to involve the complete process of making a back box, the centre pipe with a catalytic converter, or is that called the midsection, sorry? Again, I'm not completely au fait with my terminology. This car has been straight piped. I'm not a fan of that at all. I want to hear as much of the V6 engine as I can. I know plenty of other people like to listen to the roar of the exhaust, and they're more than welcome to that. It's just not for me. I want to hear that engine. I think on the ZT it sounds absolutely great, so I want to hear it on this car as well. Overall then, this car, once I've stripped it out, once everyone can see what's actually behind all the plastic, it is in quite a sorry state, I believe. Now, whether I'm stupid for taking it on, I don't know. I don't believe I am. I believe I've got the skill set and the mindset to take this project over the line and get it up to as near as I can do to showroom standard again, which is the ultimate aim for this vehicle. I do have other vehicles in mind to do crazy projects on, not necessarily Rover related, but in terms of this ZS and my ZT outside, the whole point of this is to get these, from my own personal opinion, back to factory condition again. There's a heck of a lot of work required with that. Again, also hindered by the fact that the parts are just getting harder and harder to get hold of now. However, I don't think at the minute anything's impossible, and I think with the right mindset and finding the right contacts out there, I don't see why I can't get hold of everything I would need. So guys, I think that's enough talking about this project. It's time to start doing some work. And in the next episode, we'll be attacking some of the rust we've talked about in this episode around the front area of the vehicle, in the inner arches, and also start working on the passenger side footwell and inner sill area. Until then, have a good one.